This is Jessica Matos, and this is my final persuasive speech. Can you imagine waking up in the morning not knowing when you're going to lose all bodily function, or even how many times a day? Well, this is the case for 6-year-old Charlotte Fiji. There are many cases in the world where adults and children are suffering from epilepsy, and the most effective treatment for it is marijuana, and it is just not commonly accepted because of the way it was labeled. Well, open-mindedness in this scenario especially is a very vital resource for us to have. It's going to help us grow as a society, and it'll help us come up with new ways to treat things or even cure like certain diseases or anything. Well, I wanted to talk to you guys today about the effectiveness of pharmaceutical epileptic drugs, as well as the side effects of those, or even the effectiveness of a marijuana treatment with the side effects of a marijuana treatment. I also wanted to talk to you guys about how the reason that we have this drug labeled like this is because the government did, and we accepted what the government labeled it as, and we just go along with it. I want you guys to think in your head, is it all right for us to take a less effective drug and think of it as better than a more effective drug? Well, we have, according to epilepsychicago.com, we have a 20 to 30% effectiveness of pharmaceutical drugs out there. And we have a lot more side effects in that, such as like vertigo, fatigue, tremors, dizziness, vomiting. And the reason that we think these drugs are okay is because we're told that. The effectiveness of it needs to be a higher priority to help these people, to save them. And we just can't. Because when you're in a seizure, you don't know what's going on. You can accidentally hurt yourself. You could be by yourself one day and have a seizure and you don't know. And you can just end up dying because you hit your head on something, or you're swallowing your saliva that you just can't like quite literally get the bodily functions of. And I want you guys to think, would you guys rather have a less effective medication with more side effects, or would you rather have a more effective treatment with less side effects? And that'll bring me on to the case of Charlotte Fiji. Charlotte Fiji is a 6-year-old, and she suffers from Dravet syndrome, and she's been suffering from it since she was 3 months old. She has about 300 seizures a day, and the epileptic drugs that they've been using that are pharmaceutically created were not being very effective for her. They were not helping her out as much as they should have. So her parents decided that they wanted to use a low dose of THC to see how much it would work, because they've heard so much about it. And they found that from the first 7 days after she started taking this medication that she had no seizures whatsoever. She went from 300 seizures a day to none at all. And I can honestly say with help from WebMD.com that there are some extreme cases of effects of marijuana, and those can be heart attacks, impaired vision, and elevated heart rate. But the most commonly known side effects of marijuana and commonly seen is just that you get really hungry or you get really tired. And I feel like that's something I can live with. So I want to recap. We talked about the pros and cons of pharmaceutical drugs as well as the side effects, and we've also talked about pros and cons of marijuana as well as their side effects and pros and cons of that. Now, I want to talk about the marijuana problem. We have a very big marijuana problem here because the government says that it's a problem. We are being told that marijuana is a drug, even though it's a very natural situation. And I feel that it is the most natural of medications out there that we should be allowed to access. Would you rather something that's being made with chemicals and in a lab, or would you rather something like a plant that's grown that can actually cure or even treat cases of things that just aren't curable or treatable? Well, we have an opioid epidemic. We have a lot of alcohol use and cigarette use, and the government thinks that those 3 things are okay, even though those are causing more deaths in the world than even a marijuana plant. And they're not illegal. They're okay, and everyone thinks it's okay to have them and everything. So why is it that we should be accepting that? Why should we accept people dying out there just because the government said so? Well, marijuana is a natural treatment with more effective causes to it. It's helping limit seizures, it's helping treat people with cancer, it's helping take pain away as like we weren't able to do before. And FDA.gov, it's showing me, and reading it, it's like showing that it's way more effective. But ultimately, I was thinking, I was like, how can you not think marijuana is what can save our lives or help cure people or treat people? We literally just been talking about how pharmaceutical distributed pills for epilepsy are not effective. And that's just epilepsy. They could be any more for cancer and other type of deadly diseases out there. Then we were talking about how marijuana is more effective, and that's just an epilepsy case as well. There are cases with cancer that it's helping take all the pain away from chemo. And chemo is just meds and chemicals and everything where all the pain is going away just because of smoking marijuana or consuming it or whichever way they decide to use it. And do you think it's okay for the government to just say that it's illegal for us when the most effective thing is something that's natural? When if they can find something that is chemically created that is way more effective than a marijuana plant, I would just so be open to see it, because we're having something that's less effective and more accepting, and something that's more effective that is less accepting. But I want you guys all to think, if this was your kid, if Charlotte Fiji was your kid, would you have done what her parents have done? Would you have decided to give her that dose of THC to help her and eliminate all those seizures in those 7 days, and God knows how many days after that she didn't have a seizure? Or would you rather give her a pharmaceutical drug? I'll be opening to hear all your comments on this.